Welcome to the show. Thank you for watching. This is the second one of these that we've done. The concept is to interview different people at Shepherd of the Hills Church, School, and Childcare. We've got a lot of interesting people here. Some people that you may see often and not know their story. Some people that you don't see and would love for you to know who they are. We've got a lot of fascinating people here. And so we started with our first episode. I had a great conversation with Pastor Doug Bielefeld. Great way to kick it off. And today I wanted you to get to know better somebody else that you would also see up front or with an active role in worship services. And that is our Director of Music Ministry, Micah Raebel.
Hi, Pastor Chris.
Hi, Micah. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah. So we want to talk a little bit about your upbringing and how you got to do what you're doing now, your journey from Indiana down to Texas, personal life. We're going to cover a bunch of things. And just so you know, a little insight to you guys, we are doing this interview knowing that it could be any day that Micah's second child is born. So by the time you watch this, the baby should be here, but you want to just give us, where are things at right now at the moment that we're filming?
So Carissa is 7 days late right now, technically 41 weeks. And we are just eagerly anticipating the arrival of our second daughter. My first daughter was 11 days late, so that's kind of been our compass and reference of, all right, we can panic after 11 days, But everything is good with the baby. Heartbeat is good. Everything sounds well. She's just taking a little time. And we're just ready for God's time when that baby will arrive. And very excited, very excited.
So, I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, let's start back at the beginning, maybe not all the way at the beginning when you were born, but
sure.
Just in general, why don't you tell us about life growing up in DeMotte, Indiana?
DeMotte, Indiana is a very small town. Small town by San Antonio standards, but I always felt that it was a very small town. So it's a population of about 4,000 people. It did not have a stoplight until 1996, and it's about a 2-mile main street. Lots of farmers, definitely kind of like a Cheers location where everybody knows your name. And it's a place where I couldn't wait to get out of. And now it's a place that I really wish I could go back to visit. It's a place I really loved growing up there. It's a very heavy Dutch community. We've talked about this before, where the slogan in town is, if you ain't Dutch, you ain't much. And I was Filipino, I was German, and I was Lutheran. And so I had 3 strikes on my name already at the very beginning. But, I grew to love that community, and, it's my home. And the other thing is, there's a lot of people there that, they're born there and they die there. And I just really appreciate the humility of that community. So it's a really great place. It was a great place to grow up. Still have many friends there, still a lot of family, or really adopted family that is there, and just a great place to grow up, and really for you to know everybody. So so there's the pros and cons of a small town, but also I was thinking about this last night. I can't remember what it was like to live 25 to 30 minutes from both Walmart and Target. So it wasn't 25 to 30 minutes from a Walmart or a Target. It was both Walmart and Target. We were 25 to 30 minutes away. And so it was a different style of life. And there are people that still live it, and I don't remember that anymore. So, but a great place. Great place.
You mentioned German and Filipino. Your dad is the German and your mom is the Filipino?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. So my mom moved to the States in 1987, and that's when my dad took his first call to DeMotte, Indiana in 1987. And he served that congregation for 31 years, which is that's a long time to be in one place. And my parents met at a Christian dance, and so before singles mingle or something, or christiansingles.com, they met at a Christian dance through a newspaper ad, and it was the last dance that golf course held. The golf course isn't there anymore. They met and they got married in 89. I was born in 90, and that's how our family started. And so just a kind of a crazy way that the Lord works and how they met. So
yeah.
So
born in 90, hit the magical 30 mark, March 14th.
March 14th. 30 is, I feel old, but it's okay. I know. Sorry, guys, but
you'll feel older.
I know. I'll feel older. I know. That's okay.
Yeah. All right. So your dad was there for 31 years, and now they're in Waxahachie, south of Dallas-Fort Worth.
Correct.
Yeah. Very good. So they're in Texas.
They are in Texas.
Family's moving south.
They are.
So tell us about growing up as a pastor's kid.
That's a tough question. Growing up as a pastor's kid, and I know I've talked with you a little bit about this. You were under the microscope. That's just one of those things that I don't know that you ask for that life, but the Lord called me to that life. That was just one of those things that I was not gonna. I was just born into it. The first 18 years of my life, I could always see the church out of my window because I grew up in a parsonage, and it was there were times where I loved it, and there were times where I hated it because I thought it's difficult. You definitely feel everybody knows what you're doing because they're looking to the pastor's family to see, oh man, did he mess up or something? Or, that's the con of it, in the fact that, you're just under that light. But the pro of it is, people really do, at least I felt in DeMont, that I had so many adopted grandparents, because my grandparents were in Minnesota, and, they felt that my dad was a part of their family. And so I became a part of their family. And that was really nice. So I had a lot of eyes that were watching me grow up and see like how I was just becoming making sure that I was walking in the correct direction. Mm-hmm. And that was so nice. That was super, super nice. But it was definitely difficult. I'm still learning things today as a pastor's kid. I was very fortunate. My dad shielded me from a lot of the issues that can happen in a church. And now as I'm older, my dad's telling me a lot of the things that he would never have told me as a 10 and 11 year old. Mm. And those things I think would have, I don't know how that would have made me think of church work, in terms of I was aware of conflicts that were happening in the church. I did not know any of them. And even to this day, it's surprising to me because my dad never really spoke negative about the church as I was growing up. And so I had this when I went into church work, I had this, yes, this is going to be super, super great. And then you have sin and reality, and you have to remember that how I think of things, everybody has the best intentions, but some people may just go the wrong way about those best intentions. And I think that just puts everything in a really good light. Mm-hmm. And so I continue to learn things as a pastor's kid and as a grand pastor's kid, because my grandfather was a pastor too. Yeah. And so I just really view it's very tough on the family. So that's what it's just, not to give you the interview too, but it's tough. And but I really appreciate how my dad handled things, and I appreciate my home church. It's just such a great place that made me feel loved. Mm-hmm. That was really cool.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit how you got into the field of music. How does a young man become an organist?
So I started organ in the 8th grade. My church needed an organist, and I had started piano in the 3rd grade, and I just was like, let's do this. I think this was something I wanted to do, and I always really enjoyed how the organ could be super powerful, and I wanted to give it a shot. And so I started in 8th grade and started playing This Is the Feast my sophomore year of high school. And I've always felt like that was a huge step forward, in playing. I think I give so much thanks again for my congregation in DeMont, because there were so many mistakes I made in terms of like playing. And a congregation has to be so patient with a high school kid trying to finagle his way through the liturgy. And I made, to God be the glory for their patience, and just kept working at it. And my degree, how I ended up in music is my degree was in chemistry. I wanted to go to med school, and actually did not. That wasn't the route. Before, I know this is one of the things we're going to talk about, but one of the things that I wanted to do was I wanted to be a doctor by day and an organist by night, because I didn't really want to do church music full time. I always felt it as like a hobby. But I'm really happy. I am happy. There's plenty of things to do in music ministries, plenty of things to do in the worship life. And how I ended up at going into music was I didn't do well on my MCATs. I scored average, and I didn't feel comfortable applying to med schools with that test score. And so I tried to have a gap year where I was going to maybe work for the Indiana University School of Medicine, studying the effect of alcoholism on rats' brains. That's what the study was. Huh. And it's really interesting because the Professor Freilich was her name, who was going to be heading the study. And I guess I was one of the last two, but I received an email that said, "Dear, not my name, congratulations, you've been selected to be the person to help me study the effect of alcoholism on rats' brains." And so I saw the email and I was thinking, well, this is, it's great, I got it, but it's not my name. And so she sent me a follow-up email saying that you weren't meant to receive that email.
Oh no.
And so I wasn't meant to receive that email. She said, "I'm so sorry, just let me know if there's anything that I can do to like help you with medical goals or like find something." And, that kind of was, maybe that was the door closing, really. And so, a month later, I started searching for church music jobs, because that's where my resume was. I played for church in college.
Catholic church, right?
I played for a Catholic church in high school, and then a Lutheran church in St. Peter's Lutheran in Indianapolis, which is a big time inner city church. Really love the people there too. Uh-huh. And I just had a lot of churches on my resume where I played. It's like, well, maybe I need to go into church music. And so that's how I ended up at Grace,
Okay,
so,
let's go there.
Yeah.
This is, very special to me. This is our connection. Grace Lutheran Arlington is the church I grew up at. Mm-hmm. And that was where you went and became the music director. My dad was on the call committee. So can you tell us the story of how you ended up going from DeMotte, Indiana to Arlington, Texas?
So it's crazy because I started searching, how do I find church music positions? So I went to the Association of Lutheran Church Musicians, and I think you're supposed to be a member to apply for those job positions, but I wasn't. And so I just threw my name out there. I saw Arlington, Texas. It had traditional music and contemporary music. It was a part-time job that was offered 20 hours.
That's right.
And I was like, you know what? Let's give this a shot. So I wrote a resume. I sent it. Your dad called me and said, hey, are you interested? We listened to your recording. We'd love to have you come down. I was like, what? Really? That's awesome. Let's do this. And so I came to Arlington, and I played for the committee, and they took me to a barbecue place. They mentioned all the fixings. I'd never heard that, of putting on barbecue. YA''LL was thrown around. That was different. I still will not say that to this day, but it's fine. You guys, I'm a you guys person more than you all. But I had a great interview. It just was great. And I was prepared to, go to Arlington, a new adventure. I was going to find another part-time job, because I was not going to have a full-time job in ministry. I never really felt, at that point, I didn't feel church music was a full-time job. I felt like it was something that I was just going to come in and help out, and then I'll find something else.
Do it on the weekend.
Sure,
a little bit during
absolutely. The week. And Marilyn Rutledge she said, "We want to offer you this full-time. We want you here." And your dad said your dad gave the vote of approval, because he was kind of he was the head of the praise team at that point. And he said Mike is willing to tutor you, to train you, to mentor you. And I'm indebted to him forever, man. So that's how I ended up. They called. I came down in August. It was 102, 103, 104 degrees. I mean, it's so hot.
Welcome to Texas.
So hot.
Yeah.
I mean, that was so different. And I started August 26, 2012 at Grace, and was there for 5 years.
5 years. And what was the ministry like at Grace?
A lot of challenges. I don't think anybody there would say it was easy, but a lot of love. Oh man. And so, I met some great people there that I'm still really, really good friends with. That people, Tommy and Laura Smith, John and Tracy Kavanaugh, Keith and Lynn Mangles. I can name the whole church, just such great people. And they knew I was kind of like a lost puppy, I was kind of finding my way. And that position when I first got there was just to be for a year. I was supposed to be interim, because I was supposed to I was still not sure where I was going to go. And I was also thinking, I'm going to try to get to med school. That was the goal. And so I had the MCAT books with me in my apartment, and I just didn't really open them. I never had the gumption to open it. I don't know if it's still down, it might still be down the road, but who knows, because being right here in the med center, it's like, I never thought, maybe that's God telling me it's still there if I want it, if you really want it. But I don't know that the door is open yet. So,
I think the music thing's working out pretty well.
I think it's going okay. Yeah. So
why don't you, all right, so you were at Grace until 2017?
January of 2018.
18, that's right.
Yeah.
Why don't you give us a story of how you ended up at Shepherd of the Hills?
So that's also a really, really crazy story, because in Shepherd of the Hills actually tried to call me in summer of 2016 to be a science teacher in the school and to do contemporary music. And, I was very close to coming that first time in the summer of 2016. And that's how I got to meet, I already knew you from Grace, but I got to meet Pastor Doug, and I got to meet Sue and Tim. And, I had done an audition at that point too. And then I met somebody at grad school. I was at Concordia University, Wisconsin for Masters of Church Music program. And I never ever thought in my wildest dreams that there would be, man, that is a good looking organist. Whoever says that, I never thought I would ever say that. And so we started talking, and one thing led to another. We started dating long distance in August of 2016, but my call to Shepherd at that point was, I really want to see where this goes. And with Saturday service, I wouldn't be able to see her on the weekends, so I'd leave Thursday and to go see her in Bakersfield, California.
That's right.
So I'd leave Thursday and come back Saturday night, sometimes very early Sunday morning, to get to church the next morning. And we dated long distance for a year and a half. And so Carissa took a call to Concordia in August of 2017, and Shepherd of the Hills needed you called me and said, we're looking for somebody to do everything. We want somebody to do traditional and contemporary. And would you be interested in throwing your name into the ring? And I said, yeah.
Now, was that after we ran into each other at that conference at Concordia?
No, I believe, so we ran into that conference, and I believe you had asked, I asked you how things were going, and you had said the committee was still forming and kind of getting names and everything. And so Carissa came to Concordia August 2017. Shepherd of the Hills needed a director of music, and the way God worked in this situation is incredible, because November of 2017, I did my audition for Shepherd of the Hills at the Veterans Day concert. That same day, I asked Chris's dad for her hand in marriage. And it was one of those things where this was going to work here in San Antonio, or I was going to be in Arlington. It was just one of those things. And Shepherd of the Hills extended a call in December, and Christmas Eve, which was one of the hardest Christmas Eves I've ever had, Christmas Eve morning, I announced that I was accepting the position at accepting the call to Shepherd of the Hills. That night, I proposed to Carissa, and things were just set in motion from that point, January 2018, I came to Shepherd of the Hills as the director of music. Chris and I got married in May of 2018. We had McKinley March of 2019, baby 2 May of 2020. You've mentioned this. I don't like taking things slow.
You have one speed that's fast.
Yeah. So it's just super blessed because God definitely had a plan for us to be here. For her to be called here, for us to end up in the same city, for me and Carissa, for my personal life of actually finding a great place to work and, a great pastor, great boss, great people to work with. And, it's just really crazy. It is insane how that all worked out because, when I was dating Carissa long distance, I never had a flight that was delayed or canceled. And I would buy one-way flights for everything. One-way flight to Phoenix, one-way flight to Denver, one-way flight to Bakersfield, and then one-way flights all back. If any of those things had been canceled, I would have been in trouble, and I would have been in trouble with my previous church because they probably wouldn't have got back on Sunday. And I never had any issues. So that was God's hand for sure.
Yeah.
So
God provided. It's quite a story.
It is.
And, your ministry, your music ministry here has just been fantastic, traditional, contemporary. You've started the 9:30 service, and then you and Melody working together on the video ministry. Just all the things that have happened in a short amount of time.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm just super excited. I love the video ministry so much. I'm so excited about it. And I think it's just such a, with the coronavirus situation, it just really has been a real blessing to make sure that we're still staying in connection with our members, and so it's been awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you brought up Carissa and your story together. So one of the questions that is coming is, what is it like for two organists to be married to each other? Obviously, you guys have strong opinions about music, but you're also very different people. You have different personality types. So how does all that work?
That's such a great question. We're both very competitive people. And I think one of the great things that I still love about her is that she pushes me, and I hopefully push her. And, I want to come home. It's not who's the better organist or not, but I want to come home knowing that I'm pushing her and that, I want to continue for excellence, that I really don't know how best to describe it other than we just push each other. I want to be pushed and she wants to be pushed. And I think that helps our relationship to be one of, we want the best for each other. I want the best for her and she wants the best for me. We may have very different opinions on how to do things. But I respect those opinions and she respects mine. And I value her opinion if, I'm going off the rails or in something, like if something's really crazy and she tells me that is totally not going to work, I need to value that, And so I'm glad that I have a sounding board in her to make sure that the things that I want to do in the church life, she can give me a second opinion of that. Mm-hmm. The benefit of having two people work at different churches too is that we have two different styles. We have two different ministry styles that we can really talk with each other about. How are you doing things at Concordia? How are you doing things at Shepherd? And we can see what works in each other's context. Mm-hmm. How our family will go to church is still to be determined, how we're going to determine that goal. In my mind, eventually I would love, ideally I would love for us to, sit in the pew, raise the two girls and sit with them, open the hymnal for them and everything. But I have to think also that's not how I grew up. My dad was always in the front. I sat in the second pew all the time. And, my mom was the one that had to be, you're going to need to sit here and behave. And I think that's going to be something that we're going to continue working out. I don't know what that looks like yet. Yeah. But it's a real blessing. We sing a lot of music songs in the house, so McKinley's blessed with hopefully some good harmonies, I hope, until my dad comes in and tries to sing, and let's not talk about that.
This is all on camera.
I know. I'm sorry, Dad. Yeah, but he knows. He knows.
Right.
So, but or not my dad, but we're so blessed. We're just so blessed. So blessed.
You're blessed and you're a blessing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So tell me, what energizes you? What gets you fired up in ministry?
I think definitely the relationships with people, that fires me up. Seeing people respond. I think whether it's to music, whether it's to worship, whether it's to just you being you, I think that's the best. I think that's the best thing about ministry is the fact that people will, if people like something, they're gonna let you know. If people don't like something, well, they may not let you know, but they'll give you some couple hints of whether or not they liked it or not. And I think I think that continually striving for finding things of how to reach people in any sort of medium, whether it's the organ, piano, synthesizer, trumpet, online ministry, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everything that we do is to make sure that we're meeting people and sharing Jesus with them, of somehow, finding what's the language, we have to figure out what the language is. What is reaching, because these things all continue to change, but the word of God never changes. Yeah. And I think that's what's encouraging, is that the word has stayed the same and it will stay the same until Jesus comes again. But the way that we distribute the word, tell the word, has changed even in the past 2 months, Yeah. And I think that's so exciting and invigorating, because something is changing every single day, especially in this time. And I know that you've told me that I thrive off change. I really like it, because I think that allows me to wake up and I'm going to see something I didn't see today. I didn't see yesterday. I didn't see 2 months ago. We had Ash Wednesday service, was February 26th, when we were all back. It seemed like a complete normal day, right? When we come back to worship, whenever that is, it's going to be different. Yeah. And it's going to be something that we're going to have to all be in together. One worship service may look completely different from the next week, because restrictions may lift, restrictions may be added. So I think just that change from week to week, day to day, that's exciting. That you get up and I'm going to see something different today. I'm going to see God's word in a different light than I saw 5 years ago, because the situation is different.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I should probably get close to wrapping things up. It's been a lot of fun. So let me go to the lightning round, okay?
All right, let's do it.
So, what's your favorite Christmas hymn?
"O Come All Ye Faithful."
What's your favorite Lenten hymn?
"Christ the Life of All the Living" is a great hymn.
Favorite Easter hymn?
So I know "Jesus Christ the Risen Day" is great. I'm actually going to throw a curveball at this one. "These Things That Thomas Count As Real" has become one of my favorite hymns of all time. And because if you don't know that hymn, scroll back 2 or 3 weeks ago for a video on the hymn. For me, as a scientist mind, I know there's lightning round, but as a scientist mind, Thomas, I think, is the first scientist. He wanted proof. He wanted to see things. He needed proof. He needed the justification, and he got it. And he got it through very graphic means of wounds in the hands, of sticking his hand in Jesus' side. And I think I love that hymn for the biggest thing of, like, for us that are science thinking of where's the proof. He got it. And I've been blessed with the faith to believe that he got that proof. And so I think that's just I love that hymn.
So I'm going to echo that. If you haven't seen the worship video that included that song, it was fantastic, the way that the song was mixed with the images of that. Really well done. How about favorite hymn not in one of those categories?
Favorite hymn? So I'm going to give I was thinking about this. "Holy, Holy, Holy," Trinity Sunday, every single time, where the verse says, "All the saints adore thee." It always seems to drive me to tears, because I just think of so many people that have died and that are all around the throne. And the melody is just so great. It's a steady melody. It's so it just seems people sing that one with such fervor, and they just know it's a good hymn.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Give me a couple favorite contemporary songs.
Yet Not I, but Through Christ in Me has become one of my favorites by City Light. And then I think now I'm just going through the list. I really I like all of them. It's hard to, the ones that I really like "Oh Praise the Name" because it's so creedal, and I think a lot of people that's kind of the con against, people will say the con against contemporary music, and I don't want to get into that dialogue at all, but the con against contemporary music is that it's repetitive, and there's nothing wrong with repetitive music. It helps to commit songs to memory, in my opinion. But "Oh Praise the Name," it talks about the incarnation, it talks about the crucifixion, it talks about the resurrection, it talks about the second coming. Everything is there. That's a complete song. It's good.
Great. Those are wonderful. Last one. What do you do for fun?
So I run quite a bit. I love to exercise. I love to stay in shape. I've been doing a lot of video editing lately, so I haven't done too much spare time. But when sports are on, I love watching NBA sports, baseball, football, basketball. I do fantasy sports. I'm a big fantasy sports guy. Shout out to Mark Lackey. I'm going to be in his fantasy baseball league here coming up. I was in 9 to 10 fantasy football leagues this past fall. And so it's definitely something that just keeps me close with my friends that I was in college and at Grace, and a lot of fun. Hanging out in McKinley, taking McKinley on walks with Carissa and the dogs. We have 2 dogs, Addison and Clark. They are named after the street names of Wrigley Field, so in case you were wondering. That really is, also, Carissa loves me for this. I love to clean. That's actually maybe a bad hobby, but I don't know. I need
to have you over soon.
Yeah. I love cleaning things. I like making sure things are clean, which may be part of my personality, but I like having things clean. And so Friday is chore day, and then Saturday is nap day, if I can take a nap. So, but that's kind of the, one of these days we're gonna have to be back out here schooling the 6th and 7th graders playing basketball.
Looking forward to that.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
So
yeah. Well, and if there's a question I did not ask Micah that you want to know about, just give him a call or an email. I'm sure he would be happy to fill you in on more. Well, Micah, it's been a lot of fun. I mean, ministry together is a lot of fun in general, but this experience has been great. So thank you for being my guest today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And thank you all for watching. We look forward to bringing more of these to you. God bless you today.